boo. I see you looking at me, looking at you. Hold up, where you going? What you doing? Who you seeing? What you need? What you want? I said, without you by my side, my side, my side. Without you by my side. One time from side to side. Without you by my side, I can't go outside. Without you by my side, I can't go outside. Without you by my side, I can't go outside. One time from side to side.
What up, what up? I wish I could turn the music down just, actually, I can, because I have a big brain. No. There we go. That's much softer. You know, I kind of like being able to see that border, but it is kind of... There we go. I guess I could... I don't know. This will work for now. This will be okay. There we go. What's up, everybody? I guess I should save this playlist. I've had so many videos get not striked, but copyright claimed by music. So I figured I should probably care a little bit about that and start playing non-copyrighted music. But most non-copyrighted music sucks, so it's kind of tough to find some good ones. I'm slouching. Hold on. There we go. Okay. I hope everybody's doing all right. I don't do these type of streams that often, but I don't know. I was in the mood tonight. I don't know. Somehow my life has been simultaneously awesome and shitty at the same time. There's some aspects that are just like the best they've ever been. Just super, super great. And then there's other aspects where I'm just like, make it stop. So, but yeah, man, I was like, got home off of work, had a bit of energy, did my little run, and as I was running, I came across this video, because most people would listen to music when they're running, which I do from most of the time. Sometimes I'll put on like a YouTube video or a podcast or something while I'm running, and I'll just listen to that. And this came up, and I was like, I did want to stream tonight, what if I just streamed this thing? This music's got to stop now. I need something a bit more chill. This track is just like, they're all just like too high beat. I need things that are a lot more chill. Oh man, I'm going out to Atlanta this weekend, so that's pretty hype. It'll be fun. But anywho, there's a video I found. Oh, I should say this before we get into it. Couple of disclosures. There's two people on this panel that I follow their channel. I listen to their videos a lot. This dude on the far right. His name's Steven, but his channel's name is Destiny. And then second from the left, that woman, I'm not going to try to pronounce her name, but her channel's Not So Erudite. Watch their stuff a lot. I would say that I am a fan of both of them, but I feel like in this particular debate, my brain is fucking split into, like on one hand, well, okay, I guess let me talk about how I want to go about this. So, generally speaking, whenever I show videos like this or I react to videos like this, what I want to do is, There we go. What I want to do is try my best to summarize both sides, complaints or arguments or whatever, and then I'll give you kind of my take on it afterwards. So I think this is actually pretty a good one to do this with, because in my head, I think I've held both ends of this like argument at different times in my life. So it's interesting. It's like an interesting kind of thing to think about. I'm not going to watch this beginning part here where they're interacting with the audience, because I don't really feel like that matters. I'm gonna try to get to the beginning where this guy starts talking. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I know people that have like OnlyFans or whatnot. I get that this can be a little bit of a dicey convo. But if this is something where you don't want to hear like opinions or whatever, then please click off, go do something else. I'll be back here playing video games probably not this week, just because I'm traveling. Maybe Monday of next week. But yeah, I think conversations like this are cool. If you've been paid attention to my podcast back, I would talk about this kind of stuff all the time. And I feel kind of bad that I haven't really been, I guess, having interesting conversations. And this isn't a conversation because I'm literally just talking to myself or talking to my camera. I mean, I'm sure they'll be back and forth and whatnot. People have their opinions and we can go through that whatnot in the chat. But yeah, let's chill with this music and get into the beginning of this.
In essence, I do think that OnlyFans exploits.
Oh, sorry. Let me back up to the question.
We're going to go left to right in terms of whether or not it is exploitation. So, starting with Alex,
okay,
thrilled
so the
to have
question,
you here. He and Not So Erudite.
The question basically are OnlyFans models exploiting their customers, or is OnlyFans as a whole exploitation?
Right, we'll be taking the yes position, and then we'll hear from Farah and Destiny on the no position. Alex, thanks so much. The floor is all yours.
All right, starting off first. So I'm going to give my opening statement pretty quick because I honestly don't think there's going to be too much disagreement. But in essence, I do think that OnlyFans exploits the customers the same way a casino exploits its customers. It's something that is a conscious, I guess, scam in a way, right? Because you're paid.
I'll say this right off the bat. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think, first of all, I don't think casinos are exploitative. Well, let me back that up. I guess I'll say casinos are exploitive to the same extent that a grocery store is, kind of. Obviously, the difference there is that you kind of need groceries and whatnot. You don't need to gamble. Like, the necessity is different. But when you walk into a grocery store, their layouts, I say grocery store, but I'm thinking of like Publix, Walmart, Target. Those places, their layout is literally designed in such a way to like get you walking through the store. They want you to walk and see as much stuff as possible so that you spend as much money as possible. However, we don't really complain about that as a society because it's like it's something that everybody kind of knows, or everybody, even if they don't know, it's like it's not so persuasive that it like people are walking into Target or Walmart where it's just like I'm emptying my bank account because I just need to get this fucking wicker basket. Like that's not happening. Well, it's not happening a lot. I'm sure there's someone out there with a collection of wicker baskets that is the case, but that's just not like a thing. So to compare OnlyFans to like casinos, I get his comparison. I'd have to think about that a little bit longer. Maybe it just it seems wrong because there's something different. Actually, no. Now I'm thinking about it. There is a. Yeah. Let me think about it. I was gonna say that there's like a very real gain that you get from. Actually, no. I'll say that right now. Maybe my opinion might change later on in the video, but as of right now, I would say the difference would be if I go to a casino, there's a chance that I walk away with something tangible. But if I go to OnlyFans, I'm not really walking away with anything tangible. Like if I consume OnlyFans, I'm not really. I'm getting up like a band-aid for what I'm probably looking for if I'm going to be a customer of for OnlyFans, but it's not the actual thing. Whereas that's different with the casino. That being said, I get the analogy. Like I see what he's saying. It's just I don't know. The fact that one can get you something and the other one there is no possibility of it getting you something. Like I don't know. It's one is like you put money in and their money can come back to you. The other one's more of like you put money in, you kind of get flashy lights essentially, but then like you don't actually get anything. So
for a quasi relationship, that's what the guys they're getting. In reality, they're chatting with some dude in India who's pretending to be the girl, and it's like this quasi relationship that they form, which doesn't really ultimately lead to any kind of good outcome. However, people are adults and they should be able to make their own decisions. The only caveat I would say is that there should be some kind of disclaimer that says, just as an FYI, you're not chatting to a hot girl, you're chatting to some dude in India.
I think the India thing is a little sus, but.
Okay. Yeah, so I think when it comes to the case of OnlyFans, I think it's a conversation that needs to be engaged with honestly and openly. I feel like most of the people.
Why is her mic so soft?
Are extremely biased to their side. They either want OnlyFans content creators to be slandered as dirty, degenerate whores who are corrupting society, or there's kind of on the other side this like romanticization of OnlyFans. Is it exploitative? I would say yes, obviously so. But the benefits of the platform probably actually outweigh the harm that it's doing. And so I think it's a type of platform that if you just honestly looked at some of the issues with it and corrected those, you would have overall a safer sex work platform for women and a easy access form of sexually explicit material for the consumers.
She said a word that triggers the fuck out of me, so I'm gonna just talk about it real quick. Well, it's not a word; it's a term. And that's sex work. I'm pretty sex work positive. For the most part, people want to do that to make money. I'm not gonna stop them. I want you to make money, especially if you're in a position where you feel like that's the only thing you could do. Who am I to stop you from doing it? That's that freedom. Like, do your thing. What I don't like about the term sex work is I feel like sex work used to believe like when someone said that term and that phrase, the idea that gets conjured in, or at least used to, maybe it still does, I don't know, that gets conjured in your head is like prostitution, escort service, things of that nature, like pornography. Like, but now it's one of those terms that like we have put so many things under that umbrella that it's like I don't know. I hate when we do that. Like it's one thing for people to be inclusive and for people to feel like they have a community and whatnot, but it is incredibly frustrating when we just keep stuffing more things into terms that already had like a meaning. And I can be a little bit more specific. So like I said, that term used to be like prostitution, all that stuff. But now we encompass like cam girling into sex work, or some people would argue like ASMR or body painting, or like I don't like the most nebulous possibly sexual things into sex work. The problem I have with that is those things, I think from the layman looking at them, we still as a society put prostitution, pornography and like escort stuff, we put that in a higher tier. We treat that like, hey dude, that is the top of the line. Like that's like top sex work. That's like the most heavy like thing of sex work. When we allow that these other things that are underneath that in terms of like severity to have the exact same term, when you say that, you're now giving the same weight to those other things. They're like grabbing onto the coattails of those other things, and they're being treated like they're the same thing when they're not. I feel like we do that a lot with things, and it's like, on one hand, again, I get it. You want to be inclusive. Like I want people to feel like they have a place, but it is incredibly, it's rough, man. It's really hard to be able to have deep conversations when everything is turned up to 11. Like some things have to be 5 in order for them to be 11. Everything can't be an 11. That like, there's just it's tough to have any meaningful conversation when that's the case.
Okay, I don't think it's exploitative at all. I think it's actually a net good for society, for both the creators and the consumers. To respond to Alex's point
I don't know about that.
there needs to be some sort of caveat that you're not speaking to an actual sex worker, but maybe a typist. Typically, it's a hybrid between the creator and the typist. And also, when you're engaging with a sex worker, you're looking for a fantasy. Like, you're already forfeiting a 3-dimensional relationship with a woman because you're looking for an instant response. Like, I'm an OnlyFans creator, and guys are more pissed if they don't get an instant response than if they're talking to an actual woman. They're looking for that cyborg relationship in a sense. In the same way when you'd go to a strip club, you don't want the girl who's going by Crystal to tell you her real name, and you don't want her to actually tell you that she feels disgusted by the way you're touching her. You're looking for the fantasy. It's sexual escapism. And so to act like it's exploitative to, I don't know, to fulfill that fantasy for guys is just counterintuitive to the whole reason why guys, you know, engage with sex workers.
I kind of agree with her. Hold on. I'm going to listen to her section again because
you're looking for cyborg relationship.
Sorry.
So when you're engaging with a, I think it's actually a net good for society. For
that, I don't know if it's a net good for society. That's like, that's a strong statement. I don't know about that. Like, I think maybe it's a net good for society in the short term. I don't know about the long term. I don't know. I don't know about that. It seems a little strong.
For both the creators and the consumers, to respond to Alex's point about there needs to be some sort of caveat that you're not speaking to an actual sex worker, but maybe a typist. Typically, it's a hybrid between the creator and the typist. And also, when you're engaging with a sex worker, you're looking for a fantasy. Like, you're already forfeiting a three-dimensional relationship with a woman because you're looking for an instant response. Like, I'm an OnlyFans creator, and guys are more pissed if they don't get an instant response than if they're talking to an actual woman. They're looking for that cyborg relationship in a sense. In the same way, when you'd go to a strip club, you don't want the girl who's going by Crystal to tell you her real name, and you don't want her to actually tell you that she feels disgusted by the way you're touching her. You're looking for the fantasy. It's sexual escapism.
Yeah, I mean, we don't apply that morality to any other form of entertainment. Like when you go to the movies, you are looking for fantasy. I think the tricky thing when it comes to this specifically is it's like fantasy that involves another person. Like an intimate way. Because technically, I can go to a movie and I can go see, like, I watch Iron Man. Iron Man, fucking, he flew around in an iron suit. I can get me an iron suit. I'll get some iron stuff. I'll fly around. Does that technically endanger other people? A little bit. Is it the same? It doesn't really affect. It doesn't really affect the world on in a societal level, I don't think. Whereas there's a feeling, and it could just be my own like experience and the things I've witnessed that makes me feel or think that way. But there's just this feeling that like there seems to be an effect on how people are interacting with each other in society that is stemming from all these like parasocial kind of things that are going on the internet. And I feel like when you add that level of intimacy of like sex to stuff, that's dangerous, man. That's like it's I would never tell people that they can't do it, but in the same way that like a person who learns how to use a gun understands and respects that gun, I think people should look at things that deal with sex and like intimacy. It should be respected in a similar way, because there's obviously ramifications for it. Like I don't know, like it, and to just blindly say, hey, yeah, everything's okay, it's totally fine, like everybody do whatever the fuck they want. It's just like, I want to say that, and I do think people should do what they want, but that there's a level of responsibility I think that we all collectively should probably have when it comes to anything that revolves around sex. But
and so to act like it's exploitative to fulfill that fantasy.
Also, you can ignore this chat. I'm gonna cover this chat because on one hand, I love reading chat. It's funny. It's hilarious, but some of the stuff that I don't want that to kind of influence, like your takeaway, and I'm gonna try for it not to influence mine. So,
for guys is just counterintuitive to the whole reason why guys, engage with sex workers.
I think that when we talk about exploitation, and we talk about a service as exploitation, I think we have to be careful to define what exploitation is. I think that oftentimes when people talk about sex workers being exploitative of the men that purchase their services, it feels like the definition that we're using for exploitation is there is a need that's being fulfilled by another person that could be fulfilled by somebody else. And for some reason, it's just we place kind of a unique burden on sex work for girlfriends, or I guess in some cases boyfriends, to be fulfilling these needs. And if that need isn't being fulfilled, then we call the other person fulfilling it, the sex worker, somebody who's partaking in exploitation. But we don't apply this standard to anything else. When I moved out of my parents' house, they didn't cook food for me, but I wouldn't claim that Applebee's is exploiting my lack of having a parent in the household.
I was thinking about this earlier. Like, you think about it from perspective of like customer business, we don't apply that same standard. So I agree with him in that regard. and it's also like food is something that if you don't have it, you will die. Whereas like sex, intimacy, that illusion of like love, I say illusion of love. Love is real, but like the illusion that you get from like, I don't know, like chatting with like an OnlyFans model or something like that. That you don't die, but to say that you don't need that, I think is also not fair. I think the consequences aren't death. The consequences are more of like a devolving into very antisocial like tendencies, and that stuff can devolve you into even worse places. So it's like the consequences aren't exactly the same. But the analogy makes sense. The analogy it makes sense. It's just what's at risk is a little bit different, you know?
I wouldn't say that because my mom doesn't like sew my clothes that Walmart is engaging in the exploitation of my desire to have clothing. And even for more like personal services, right? Like a massage parlor is not taking advantage of my lack of having a partner to rub my back. A therapist isn't taking advantage of me not having a good friend. An apprenticeship that I might pay for isn't taking advantage of me not having like an uncle or a father to show me a trade. So I think that when we talk about exploitation, I think the really important thing is we have to define that exploitation is in some sort of transaction with somebody that doesn't have the wherewithal to actually consent to the activities taking place.
I'm gonna hear that one more time.
The really important thing is we have to define that exploitation is in some sort of transaction with somebody that doesn't have the wherewithal to actually consent to the activities taking place.
One more time.
So somebody that doesn't have the wherewithal is in some sort of transaction with somebody that doesn't have the wherewithal to actually consent to the activities taking place.
So being in a transaction with somebody who doesn't have the actual wherewithal to consent to the activities or transaction in place. Like, I wish I had somebody else to kind of bounce these ideas off of, because I find that I reach better conclusions when I have someone else to kind of test the ideas that are popping into my head, which is why I like the whole podcast method or the podcast like style. The reason I'm pausing so much here is because obviously I think the biggest contention about these kind of things are the guys that like obsess over OnlyFans creators, or they empty like their bank account because they think they're going to have like a real relationship or something like that with this model or whatever. And I would argue that those people don't have the wherewithal to realize that to consent to that transaction. Like they're like, for whatever reason, whether their upbringing, lack of like some kind of role model or some figure to kind of explain that stuff, whatever the reason's not as important, but there's a part of me that wants to just say like, yeah, I don't think that those people are functioning at a level that they can consent to that. Or at least there should be some kind of roadblocks or things in place that would help someone who's at a point, who gets to the point where they can't, they don't understand the consequences of what they're consenting to. I kind of look at that in the exact same way that I think of like like student loans. I think that shit's crazy. Like, I think student loans are wild. You literally get a kid, who is like 18. He's 18-year-old. Like, they're an adult, but like they just became an adult, right? And it's wild because that's the age that they try to do this shit at. You get them to agree to pay these absurd amount of money. They have no idea what that is. They can't wrap their head around the numbers that are put on the table. Because a lot of the people that really get exploited from that do come from like I wouldn't say impoverished, but like lower class like families that really just kind of get weird, caught in these like absurd student loans. I'm just using that as an example because I think we have that in society. That's a thing, but when you look at it, it's just like that doesn't seem like a good thing. So I don't know.
So, for instance, we can talk about the exploitation of children. A 9-year-old might not know the damage they're doing to their health by working in a coal mine. That's why labor of children is often considered exploitation.
Yeah, but a super lonely guy also may not know the damage that he's doing to himself by dropping hundreds of thousands of dollars to an OnlyFans model. Like, yes, that is an adult versus a child, and we do have higher expectations for adults than we do for children. But in the same way I would have empathy for someone who got into sex work because they felt like that was the only option they would have, I have similar empathy for the guy who falls in love with like an OnlyFans model because he thinks that that's like because he thinks he has some connection with this. Like I have empathy for both of those people. I just don't know to what degree we should put in safeguards for adults. That's the tough part, I think, about this whole argument. Is like how much should we put in like railings for adults to like not fuck their lives up? I don't know.
Exploitative is because they don't know the risks that their body might be taking in order to engage in certain forms of labor. Or if we talk about like scams, old people might think that there really is a poor dude in Nigeria that just needs $500 in order to lock up his $1 million of funds from his Nigerian king father. So we would call these things exploitation because either one, there's an inability from one side of the person to actually consent knowingly and with full information to the activity because they just don't have the capability of it. Or two, on the other side, we've got somebody engaging in a dishonest transaction. I think that when we talk about sex work as a whole, we're going to have to fulfill one or the others of these sides. I think it's hard to make the argument that if you're 18 or older, you don't know what you're getting when you're buying something from OnlyFans. As far as said, like when you go to a strip club, I mean, if you think the girl's name is really Crystal, I don't know what to tell you. And if you are, and then for the other side, I heard Alex put this argument forth that like faking DMs might be an unethical thing if you're not upfront about it, which could be the case, but that's just an argument against one type of sex work. That's not an argument against all of OnlyFans or all of sex work. So I submit that if we're going to have a debate on the exploitation of sex work, we need to be working within the strict definitions of exploitation, or if we're going to further expand the definition of exploitation, we need to also understand that we're arguing for the banning of any service that could lead to a detrimental effect in the long term of somebody's health, such as gambling, alcohol, consumption of fast food, overconsumption of video games. I am in favor of banning League of Legends, though, and that's my argument. Yeah.
This might be a little authoritative of me, but maybe it's because there are moments where I feel like I've lost faith in like people being just innately good, but I don't know how much I would fight against something that was put in place to stop all of the things that he listed, like overconsumption. Like I don't. yes, it would take away from freedoms. Like it would definitely be like a blow to our freedom. But man, would it solve so many problems. I don't know. That's a tough one. Yeah, I don't know.
I guess probably the most important part then to start is what are we defining as exploitation?
Yeah, I was about to ask that.
As interlocutors.
Sure. My definition of exploitation is what I gave. I would say that it's if you're dealing with a customer that can't give informed consent, or if you are intentionally misrepresenting what it is you're selling to somebody.
Do you think casinos are exploitative?
Do I think what?
Casinos, gambling.
Are exploitative?
Yeah.
Under my definition, no.
Okay, what about, let's say, selling drugs? Becoming hardcore drugs like heroin.
I would say it could qualify, but the difference there is that kind of what he was saying, exploitation takes place if the customer can't give informed consent or like fully conscious consent. And the difference is that the American Psychological Association does not include pornography addiction under the DSM-5 because it's just not an addiction. There's no compulsion, which is like the cardinal feature of the cardinal hallmark of what an addiction is.
What? What? Okay. Whenever you hear someone say anything about DSM-5, they could be speaking from a place of like, I don't even want to say that term because it's cringe. Fuck it, I don't have another word for it. They could be speaking from a place of good faith. That's like an 80-20 split. 20% they're speaking from a place in good faith and they're just like using that as a source of authority. The 80% is like, that's just some shit that they heard and they heard it as an authority, and then they're just like, oh, that's it, I can use this, and it doesn't have the thing that I want to not be in there, so I'm perfect for me. To say that pornography addiction is not real is a wild thing to say to me. That's insane. What? Like, that's crazy.
There's no withdrawal symptoms. Like if you choose to take your credit card information out of OnlyFans, you're not gonna be having headaches. You're not gonna be like scratching your face thinking there's like bugs on your face. But people who do have gambling addiction, there is a lack of compulsion, which is why there's a difference. You are exploiting possibly a customer.
About the DSM stuff, we should probably be cautious because most behavioral addictions don't have the like drug-induced withdrawal symptoms that you're alluding to, right? But part of withdrawal symptoms, if you look at like the 6 measures of what makes something addictive, not that we need to get too much into this, but porn addiction is a decent thing. There's increasing literature establishing that there's internet addiction.
Yeah.
So porn would probably fall into like the OnlyFans thing.
I feel like you can probably get addicted to anything that like gives you that serotonin hit. You probably like. I don't know why anybody would say that. I don't understand why anybody would ever say like pornography addiction is. That's an insane thing to say. Like anything that gives you a dopamine, serotonin, in things that give you that good chemicals in your brain, you probably can get addicted to that. That would be my guess.
Absolutely can be addictive proponents to any sort of behavior, particularly anything that like hits fast and reinforces quickly. And the more immediate and the more reinforcing that it is, this is why drugs are so addicting in many ways, is because the moment you feel sad, you can take it and it boosts. That's like the psychological addictive element there. So while I agree there's no drug systems going on that are making people addicted to porn, there is behavioral mechanisms.
These microphones are rough.
To establish. You would have to establish that basically no behavioral addictions exist if like porn addiction doesn't really exist.
Well, do you think lack of compulsion is involved with...
Hold on, let's see if I can fix this real quick. Sorry. Filters. No, that would only fix it for you guys. It wouldn't fix it for me. Alright, well, maybe it might be better for you guys. I'll put a compressor on there.
porn addiction?
I don't know if compulsion.
Sorry, let me miss that.
Well, do you think lack of compulsion is involved with porn addiction?
I don't know if compulsion's the... I don't know how much we want to get into addiction. I don't know if I would agree that compulsion is like a fundamental element of what we categorize as addiction anyways. Because, to be fair, there's no consensus among the literature of whether addiction is impulsive or compulsive. It's probably somewhere in between. We know that it seems to interact a little bit with OCD and like the brain structures associated with that, but it's not one-to-one. So there is compulsive elements, but there's also highly impulsive elements as well.
Let me give one analogy for Farah. So let's say that you are a drug dealer, you sell heroin. You come up to me, I'm totally sober, an adult, can make up my own mind, and you say, hey Alex, I'm gonna give you this heroin really, really cheap. And I'm like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. Is that an exploitative behavior on your part?
I would say no.
No, I don't think so.
But I think the reason why the sale of drugs is considered exploitation is because doing certain types of drugs is considered a transformative experience. The type of person you are who's consumed heroin a bunch is
They fixed the
transformatively
mics.
and fundamentally different.
No,
than
I'm
the-
talking about I've never done heroin before.
Yeah, if you've never done heroin
Holy
before, and
shit.
somebody making you an offer to sell you heroin, assuming that you're an adult, you're mentally sound, you're not Yasuo main or somebody with Down syndrome or something, then obviously, you have the ability to choose whether or not you want to buy or not buy heroin. There's no compulsion there. To call it exploitative is strange. I don't understand.
Well, you can make that argument for kids working at China Sweatshop. They have the option whether they want to go there or not, right?
Do they?
Yeah, in some cases, sure.
I don't think so. I think that's why sweatshops aren't considered unethical, because the kid decides I could go to happy-go-lucky middle school today, or I could go and work in the horrible conditions of the sweatshop. I think that sweatshops are considered unethical because oftentimes they're seen as, one, the people are too young to even have the option to make another choice, and two, because they have no other recourse. They have no other
Exactly. So that's the
option.
whole point. So they go to the sweatshop because that's their best alternative. The other option is like staying at home, trying to start your own business. It's the same thing with
Start your own business in China?
just it's hypothetically possible. Like what? You don't think there's any Chinese businessman?
You're talking about
Well,
child
hold on,
labor.
wait. I think that when we talk about children who are in sweatshops in China, I don't think we're thinking of the average person who's capable of launching their own entrepreneurship at like age 10 or something. It's possible in the same way.
It's hypothetically possible. Let's say he's 13. He can be a streamer like you.
And you know what? If that's your argument, you want to hang your hat on, then I'll.
No, but
tell you whether you hang your hat on that argument.
that's the whole point, though, right? It is in that sense, like, so you could just then have to say that sweatshops are not exploitative because they have a choice. It's the same thing with the guys who subscribe to Farah's OnlyFans or any girl's OnlyFans. It's because they don't have a better alternative. They're doing it because they're lonely. They don't know how to talk to girls in real life,
Sure.
and that's their. So
I
yes,
understand
they
real
do
quick,
have.
I just wanna-
They could sit home and jerk off.
Sure.
Right, but
I
that's.
just want to define something really quick, okay? Because this part of the argument highlights something very important. It's the difference between consent and informed consent. Oftentimes, the understanding of informed consent gets trivialized into this understanding of consent, which is, well, could you make a different choice, right? Like, technically, any abused prostitute could just not work for the pimp anymore. Any abused spouse could just leave their husband. Any abused child could petition the court to become an orphan or a ward of the state. But the informed consent means, does the person, are they reasonably expected to have a meaningful ability to engage with the particular system of exploitation that they're a part of?
That's the part where I kind of go back and forth on, because on one hand they're an adult. Most of the people that do, well, I don't want to say, I was going to say most of the people that engage with this are pretty old, but most of the people that are getting obsessed with a model, like an OnlyFans model or something, they're not 18 or 20. They're probably older because they have the funds to be able to throw all that money their way. These are adults. These are grown adults. But I don't know. I don't know if I would say that they have informed consent. I don't know if those people have a grasp of the long-term consequences or the long-term costs of doing what they're doing. And as far as the question of whether or not it's exploitive, if those people don't have a grasp of that, now you can say that they don't have a grasp of that, and you can blame them for that, which kind of tends to be the go-to thing is they're an adult, it's their fault. And I'm kind of we're products of our environment. If I would never walk up to a guy who's struggling to change his car, his tire in his car, and he grew up in a place where he didn't have cars, and be well, why don't you know how to change a car? It's your fault you don't know how to change it. I guess, I guess he could go on the internet and learn, but if he's lived somewhere where that's not been, you see what I'm saying? It's not it's not as easy as just blaming the person who doesn't have the knowledge or doesn't have that informed part of the informed consent. Like, sometimes it's just that people grow up in such a way that they're just not exposed to these things, or they don't have someone that ever tells them in life, hey, maybe don't do this because XXXXY. Like, these things can kind of come down to this. Or you can engage with this, but just know that, like, if you do to this extent, XXXXXX. Like, if you never had someone explain that to you, and you end up falling into that pit, like in that hole, I don't know. Like, on one hand, it's like, I don't know. I kind of have some empathy for that person. Like, I don't know.
I think that children in sweatshops are not meaningfully expected to be able to just go home and become full-time streamers. They don't have a realistic option out. That's a 1 to a million.
Like, how many times do people, like, younger kids, mostly women, like, get into relationships with, like, shitty guys, but they don't know. They didn't have someone that said, hey, like, this is what you should look out for, or they didn't have, like, a parent figure to, like, mirror what that healthy relationship is supposed to be. They don't know. You don't blame her. You blame the guy for being shitty. You blame the guy for exploiting her lack of knowledge and, like, taking advantage of that. You would blame that guy. But then when it's this case, it seems so much grayer. But I get it. I get why it seems grayer. But, like, you would never do that. I would never do that to, like, a young girl who did that. But then, I don't know. It's I guess it's harder for us to say the same when it's another way around.
Shot. The same that a person that gets addicted to heroin, I could get a lucky break and become like an actor in Hollywood, and I just end up like Chris. But I don't think that's like the average.
You're making the argument that it's less exploitative. It's less addictive, which is true, but it's still exploitative.
Are restaurants exploitative?
No. Why would a restaurant be exploitative?
Because it serves you
Chick-fil-A, we gotta admit,
physiological
Chick-fil-A
need.
is very exploitative.
Well, they add like
I
MSG
don't
to their
know about-
stuff. There's a ton of sodium. It's not healthy for you. It causes long-term cardiovascular disease.
There's only
and
one
it
reason they
went-
close on Sunday, and that's
Right,
because
but
they want to
with
pay
the
us and tempt us.
the difference is with the restaurant, you kind of know what you're getting, right?
Well, you're done with OnlyFans?
With OnlyFans, do you think there's like
Yeah, that's the problem.
say, hey, you're probably going to be addicted to and spend thousands of dollars on this girl. You're probably going to be simping hardcore. You're probably never going to get into a real life relationship because you spend all your money and
That's
all your
just
time
not
on
true.
OnlyFans.
89% of OnlyFans subscribers are married men, so this idea that it's just lonely virgins who are subbing to OnlyFans is just...
Where's that
an outlier.
statistic?
Hold on. Let me hear exactly what she said.
So this idea that it's just...
Also, on this girl, you're probably going to be simping hardcore. You're probably never going to get into a real life relationship because you spend all your money and
That's
all your
just
time on
not true.
OnlyFans.
89% of OnlyFans subscribers are married.
We're looking this up. We're doing it. Hold on. Let me type this up. How? I think 35 minutes. It's Audacity. Wait, 60%. So the first thing that comes up is a study from Psychology Today. I don't know how you feel about Psychology Today, but it is 89% after surveying 330. I don't know about that sample size. They surveyed 335 men and 383 women. That seems... And how do you... Hold on, I'm looking this up. I'm going down the rabbit hole now. This is This is wild to me. Speaking Minton to consume more pornography, of course. And there's emerging evidence of target. Think view research. Get the 60%. Where is what you just showed me? Literally. There it is. Okay. Okay. Only single man would be driving companies. The twist comes from one of the first studies of breakdown OnlyFans user demographics. After surveying 335 men and 383 women ages 18 to 71, researchers found that subscribers, on average, were 63% male, 68% white, and 89% married, with 59% of users identifying as heterosexual and 37 identifying as bi or pansexual. Okay, that latter finding may sound unusually high, but a 2000 Gallup poll revealed that bisexual individuals make up a majority of the LGBT plus demographic. 59%. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. According to another Gallup study, 70% of bisexual people it's a tricky assumption to believe that married men may not also experience loneliness. Yeah, I can get that. Lead author. They very much can do. Okay, cool. It's a lot of words to say the same thing. There's certain as responses of whom 50% is male, female. Okay, so does the study say that? Yes, it does. Right here in purple, it does say that. While I'm willing to say that there's probably a large amount of people that consume this that are married, which that in of itself is wild to me. It's crazy. It's that sample size of like 700 people. That seems way too small. That seems like that's actually crazy small for the amount of people that use OnlyFans. Doing a because the more I think about this, like I would like to know what their spread is in terms of ages. Because if this is an equal distribution, I don't know if that's accurate to the distribution of people that are on OnlyFans. I'm willing to bet, well, like I said before, I'm willing to bet that the people that are whaling, like the people that are emptying their bank accounts and whatnot, yeah, those guys are probably older. But I'm willing to bet the mass majority of people that are on OnlyFans are probably under 30. That would be my guess. I would imagine that's the case. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But I don't know. That just seems saying that off of a 700 person study seems kind of wild to me. But
married men, so this idea that it's just lonely virgins who are subbing to OnlyFans is just
Where's that
an
statistic
outlier.
from?
So it's actually, I brought the study here in my bag if we want it. That is actually correct from the one study in 2021. Obviously it hasn't been replicated, but there actually is a really unexpected finding in most SEM research, which finds that most of the people who consume it are married men, which is a very odd finding. The argument I would make is, why would we say that married men aren't lonely when their divorce rate is at like 50%? One of the biggest indicators of men killing themselves is usually post-divorce or post-being fired. So I agree that they are married men. I just don't know if that substantiates to me enough whether or not they're this, like, essentially this vulnerable group
Right.
that we're
So
talking
you're
about.
citing post-divorce. Obviously, if we're talking about married men, we're talking about pre-divorce, and then also
Well,
second.
oh my god, I don't like her. I don't like her as a human being. I don't like her. Oh my god, that is the most.
So you're saying
All right, I need you to listen to what just happened.
50%. One of the biggest indicators of
She's her whole thing was, just because they're married men doesn't mean they're not lonely. And the way she backed it up was because all of these men, they still feel lonely, thus they get divorced or whatever, their relationships crumble or they get fired, all this stuff. Like, bad things can happen to men that are married, essentially. Men that are married aren't impervious from feeling lonely or isolated. That's her point. Her reply to this is,
are married men.
Citing post-divorce, obviously.
Substantiates to me enough whether or not they're this, like, essentially this vulnerable group
Right.
that we're
So you're
talking
citing post-divorce. Obviously, if we're talking about married men, we're talking about pre-divorce, and then also
Well,
that cunty tone and attitude, that condescending, like, well, obviously we're talking about, like, you didn't listen to what she just said. You just had your point and you want to beat that into the, I can't stand that.
Imagine if they're getting divorced or if they're on OnlyFans, there could be no, and this is an area where I'll fully admit, there's just a data gap. I don't know if the married men that are on OnlyFans are like, me and my wife love OnlyFans and it's a bonding couple moment, or whether they're like, God, my wife won't touch me anymore because I got fat and my dick's small, so I have to go on OnlyFans to get. I don't know which group is the 89%.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess it's heterogeneous. There's probably some married men that are very liberal, that are very open about their sexuality with their wife, and it is like an enhancing thing. One of the most important finding in most SEM research is the effect of porn on the individual has everything to do with their beliefs and attitudes about porn itself, right? If you're a couple who thinks that porn enhances the sexual dynamic, you think that it's like exciting and role play, we just broadly see that it's good for everyone. But if it's somewhat like rammed down the throat, we see women, for example, tend to only watch porn when their partners ask for it. And we see a big escalation in insecurity in those women and a decrease in like sexual satisfaction in those couples. Again, that's part of because of the belief system that's operating when they engage in porn. So just to be clear, the 89% isn't evidence to me whether or not they're a vulnerable population. It's just a really interesting finding.
I want to go back to what Farah was saying in her opening statement. You were saying that it's positive for men and women. I can understand how you make the argument for women because they're making money. How in the world is it positive for men?
Okay, so Littman and Leister did a study in 2023 in the Journal of Sexuality and Culture, and they found that of the population of men who engage with OnlyFans workers, they actually experienced an improvement in sexual confidence, higher self-esteem, higher body positivity. I mean, you can make a face.
I
but
do
it's
not
just-
buy that for a second.
That's
Simping for
great.
some random girl on OnlyFans is going to give you confidence and give you more body positivity.
I mean, you were the one talking
Probably.
about guys facing incessant rejection, so yeah, maybe talking to a model, even if it's a guy in India cosplaying as a model, telling you, yeah, your dick looks so great, it's going to raise your confidence.
Right, and then you start doing that instead of going out and actually self-improving, meeting real girls in real life, which is what's actually going to make you happy.
This is kind of to the
By that
point,
logic,
though.
that women should withhold sex from broke men until they've reached their financial pinnacle. 'Cause
Well, some girls
otherwise,
do that.
Some do, but you're basically saying it's just as unethical for me to have sex with broke men because I'm offering them a sexual checkpoint that's not congruent with their financial peak, and
does
I
that
should
have to
just
do with
reserve
anything?
sex for millionaires. No, it does, because you're saying that they're not working on themselves. So by that logic, women should just reserve themselves as sexual trophies for men who've like crossed the finish line.
Right, but because the difference here is that you are a partner in that relationship. So ideally, if the guy doesn't completely suck in bed, you're getting a benefit. You're getting to have good sex, right? Hopefully, ideally, right? Versus in this situation, it's a one-way street. The girl's taking all the money, and the guy's just spending all his mental, financial, and emotional energy on this quasi BS relationship, which is ultimately going to lead him to be lonely, depressed, and it's going to make him have a harder time meeting girls in real life.
The absolute end result there, I think, is unfair. I don't think it's fair to be like, because you consumed OnlyFans, because you consumed porn, because you did all this stuff, you absolutely will become lonely and like a garbage human being. Like, that's not how that works. There are other probably markers or other things that are going on in your life, and that the overconsumption of that probably amplifies those other things, and then that's what causes it. That one thing on its own by itself, that's not doing it. I'll die on that hill. Just overconsumption, or just the overconsumption of like, well, let me see, just the consumption. Overconsumption of anything can fucking like kill you. Like, that's the whole thing, right? You can drink a bottle of water, or you can drink a thing of water and die from like water poisoning or whatever. But like, just the consumption of like watching a cam girl or watching pornography, that alone is probably not going to do it. There's going to be other things that are mixing with that. And even then, I wouldn't be so bold to be like, it will absolutely end this way, or this is the absolute end result of that. That's not necessarily true. There are so many people that engage with this stuff in a healthy way, and they live normal lives. It's fine. Like, it's not just engaging with that stuff doesn't mean that you'll ruin your life. It's not the same thing like taking some like highly addictive drug for the normal person. I'm sure there's going to be some people that like their brains are already conditioned that in taking any amount of like dopamine or serotonin from like pornography or sex related things might be more addictive for them, but that is the spectrum of humanity. Some people are more susceptible to some things, some people are less susceptible, but generally speaking, it's not just that one thing that's gonna fuck your life up.
Like if you could take that 5 hours a day you spend jerking off to whatever, who's ever OnlyFans, and go out and do shit and actually meet girls in real life. But the problem is, because there's that easy escape, the guys are not doing that. So again, if you want to say...
Hold on, wait. I think we have to be really clear here, okay? When we argue about whether or not OnlyFans is exploitation, you're going to like the most extremely addicted people, and then you're trying to present that as being the norm. This would be like me saying, like, do we really think that like selling alcohol is good when if you drink, you're going to be drinking, 24 hours a day, you're going to be an alcoholic, you're going to abuse your family, you're going to have cirrhosis of the liver when you're 35 years old. Like, the obvious response would be like, okay, well, not everybody that drinks does that. You can't point to the most abused or most addicted, most extreme part, because in that case, again, going back to my initial argument, we'd have to ban fast food. We're the most obese nation on the planet. We'd have to ban video games.
But there's a difference between something being legal and someone being exploitive. We're not arguing that you should ban OnlyFans. We're just saying it's exploitative.
How on earth
so the
is it
whole making it illegal thing just falls out the window.
But then is every single thing then that's like taking advantage of a want or desire or a lack of something, are all of those things exploitative?
Something that's detrimental to that person.
Please,
if it's detrimental,
okay.
my bad.
want to give non-Twitter
Sorry.
Thank you.
I got carried away.
I'm going to take a bit of a different approach because I don't know if I agree with that. I think part of the issue that we're having is I don't know if I agree with your definition of exploitation. I don't know if exploitation is fundamentally about informed consent. I think exploitation is, because that's making exploitation about the consumer and the individual. Whereas to me, exploitation, I think I looked up on like Cambridge or something. It just, one of the most common definitions is the act of using somebody unfairly for your own advantage, right? And so
that's such a better definition. I love that definition.
The act of using some exploitation is, because that's making exploitation about the consumer and the individual. Whereas to me, exploitation, I think I looked up on like Cambridge or something. It just, one of the most common definitions is the act of using somebody unfairly for your own advantage.
The act of using someone unfairly for your own advantage. Okay, I'm trying to see if OnlyFans fits into that definition. Is someone being used unfairly for their own advantage? So I feel like that can go both ways, honestly. So here's the argument from one way. One way you can look at it is, this guy is super depressed, super lonely, blah, 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 whatever. And he's being used for his money for the advantage of the woman. The other way you can flip that around is, women have kind of been behind the eight ball for a lot of years, and this particular woman may have been put into a position where this is her only option, is to use herself unfairly and almost exploit herself to get by. And that's more of an exploitation from guys, because then they get to enjoy like looking at her, I guess. So like it could go either way. Personally, I feel like this is why I disagree with the initial statement of like, oh, it's for the overall good for both the consumer and the model. I don't think it's good for either. I think if done responsibly, it can be good for both. But if my 32 years of being alive, almost 33 years of being alive, has taught me anything, human beings don't utilize anything responsibly. We just don't. There's if we can exploit something, if we can do something and get all of what we want out of it, regardless of what the consequences are down the line, we're gonna do that. Like unless we put some kind of like safeguard to stop us from doing it, we're just gonna do it. There's no beating that. I don't think.
right? And so the question is there structures within OnlyFans that do allow individuals to take advantage of specifically the highest risk? I don't want OnlyFans to be banned. I don't want fast food to be banned. I don't want alcohol sales to be banned. However, I do want disclaimers on alcohol. I do want to make sure that there are like off-ramps and resources for people who are massively abusing alcohol.
True.
Because the reality is, if you're a dumbass who pays an OnlyFans girls for a girlfriend experience and you're like, I'm pretty sure Sally Lou is going to want to fuck me someday, you are a dumbass. But the issue is, as a liberal society, we care about dumbasses. We want to create protections and off-ramps for these individuals. And my concern with OnlyFans right now is, while I basically would fully agree with you about women, it's the best possible sex work situation for women. They get all control, they get to set the terms, money is out of the pimp's hands. The issue is that some women on the space are being really ethical. They add disclaimers, they make sure that the men know who are buying their services of being like, this is not real. But that is not all women. There are many women on OnlyFans who go on Tinder and Bumble to promote their services, a dating website. There are many girls who on OnlyFans go on TikTok and give voice affirmations every single day, being like, oh baby, your cock is so beautiful and I love you so much, right? And guys are just like, yes, in the morning, dating off of this and then paying for their PPVs. And so there is a system within OnlyFans that is creating the most high-risk population of men to get sucked in. And all I want is a critique on that, to be honest about that and go, how do we offset that? Can we set up disclaimers?
Yeah, I think you can have a critique of this, but I think that if we're going to have this, it needs to apply to everything else.
She just said that it applies to everything else.
Where I see some athlete, run a fucking mile in 3 minutes, I need a disclaimer saying drinking Gatorade will not make you a professional athlete. When I walk into a casino, I need a giant dude holding a sign saying, you're probably not going to win $1 million. When I walk into literally any possible thing, I need to have like warnings or safeguards that are saying like, by the way, you might not benefit from this like in the most insane way possible. Like, what is there any other industry that we have?
There's a million industries without safeguards. Also, just real quick, the whole making it illegal or banning thing is a complete red herring because everyone here agrees that OnlyFans should not be made illegal.
Sure,
So
wait,
there's no point talking about.
Illegal.
No, you were talking about
I'm
earlier.
not
Institutional disclaimers.
I'm saying is that is there any other type of thing that has this
alcohol,
disclaimer?
tobacco sales, all of these things.
Pharmacy, pharmaceuticals.
Some of disclaimers. Most businesses
products.
as well, you can sue if Gatorade is too aggressive in their advertising and lies too much. There are actually
There's disclaimers and everything,
The
detergent, like literally
type
everything.
Of disclaimers that you're asking for are not like this. The disclaimers on cigarettes and alcohol
About health warnings,
have to
not
do,
like
they have to do
you're not
direct
gonna
effects
reach
to your
a
health.
peak, yeah.
But what I need now, you're telling me, I grew up playing Metal Gear Solid watching Cowboy Bebop. I didn't remember.
That would imply that the things that happen to people that get addicted to this are not a mental health thing. That is a health thing. It's not like a physical health thing. But then are we saying that we only want disclaimers for physical health things? Because that seems interesting. And that hyperbole of like saying, oh, well, I'll need this on walking into the grocery store or going to do like menial things. Like, you can see how people are interacting with a certain thing and then make safeguards for that. People are not interacting with the things that he listed in that way. And even then, at a casino, most casinos or most gambling things or sites or whatever, they tell you the odds. They show you the odds. They tell you, hey, motherfucker, this is not slated towards you. You do not, like, the house, like, everything is tilted towards us. Like, a lot of places will just tell you the odds. But they don't want that for this kind of stuff, which I guess is a little telling.
Any disclaimers on cigarettes saying you're not going to be really fucking cool if you start smoking. Like, nobody ever made that disclaimer. That's why a lot of people start smoking.
Let's start with something like this. I want girls that are actively, knowingly trying to blur the line between expectation and fantasy to have some sort of TOS regulations. So there are some women who do the girlfriend experience who are explicit that it's a role play, that it's explicit that it's a fantasy, and there are disclaimers, and they define the relationship really clearly. And there are tons and tons of OnlyFans manuals. I didn't have to look very far on OnlyFans advice on the Reddit page to find girls advising other girls about how to convince men that there might be a chance that they could fuck them so that they spend more money on them. this is real. There's an entire Pornhub section of OnlyFans girls meets up with fans and fucks them.
Except
That's
it's
like an
never a
entire
fan.
thing. And I agree it's a fantasy. The issue is that some of these individuals lean hard into the fantasy, and who's going to fall for that? The reality is the higher, more vulnerable, probably most dispossessed individuals.
Sure,
and that's
which
what I want to
and I
protect.
think
I
that's-
just think we don't want to have that expectation for other things, like he's saying. Like when I go with my male friends to a restaurant, they always think the waitress is like flirting with them because they want a tip. Like, should the waitress have to disclaim, like, by the way, I'm just doing this for money?
No,
You have,
because
like, zero chance with
it's
me?
socially understood that
Correct.
at a restaurant, you're going to give someone a tip. That's a common thing that's been around forever.
Hold on,
With
wait, wait,
OnlyFans,
wait,
Is it socially
do you
understood that
think
the
most of
waitress
the
is
dudes?
flirting with you just for money?
What?
Is it socially understood that the waitress is only being friendly
Well, if she's
with you
doing
for
that, then
money?
you can
Yes.
argue that, yeah, that is mildly exploitative because she's trying to leverage a false sense of attraction, right? Lead the guy on so he gives her more money. I'm not saying it should be illegal, but yeah, that would be
But that's what
mildly
you go
exploitative.
for. Like if you go to Hooters, that's also what you're expecting. When you go to OnlyFans, that's what you're.
That's I fucking ooh, I hate that. We went from restaurant, bartender, to fucking Hooters. Like what? Like that hurt my brain. I watched someone like try to fold, like when you go to fucking Cold Stone and they're folding that ice cream. They put the thing on there, they put all the fucking gummy bears in there, throw some cookies in there, and they're folding that shit. They're like, fucking put that layer. Looking good. She just did that. She just took restaurants. She like put restaurants. She was like, yeah, isn't that the same thing? Like when you go to a restaurant, yeah, I had an argument there, and then you're like, well, you go to Hooters, and she just threw that fucking gummy bear in there. She folded it real quick to be like, yeah, it's the same thing. It's not the fucking same thing. If you go to Hooters or Twin Peaks or fucking some bar where the part of the appeal to the place is sex, which in my personal opinion, I don't think those things should be. Give me it. If I flirt with you, you give me a tip. I'm not. Would I get banned off of Twitch if I said what I was gonna say? I don't know. Maybe I might have. That's that type of argument. It boils my blood. It grinds my gears, is what it does. I hate when people do that. That's so frustrating.
Not exploitative.
Do you think
It's like some manipulative shit.
do you think most guys on OnlyFans are happy?
I just gave you a study that proved that like they have an
I
increase.
just don't believe that study for a second. Seems like the biggest BS ever.
You also didn't believe that 89% of subs are married men. I don't know what to tell you.
Like, where's the study that's coming from that's showing that all these men are being happy on OnlyFans? Every single OnlyFans, do you have ever met who subscribes to OnlyFans? Looks like they literally want to kill themselves.
Well, hold on, but that's because you're explicitly a dating coach who
Yeah.
those types of men are going to, right?
You're targeting the outliers who are already striking out. That's why they're coming to you, right?
All right, Far, would you say, okay, answer this question brutally honestly. Would you say that, how many subscribers do you have on OnlyFans?
I'm not saying.
Okay, whatever, let's just assume it's 1,000. What percentage of your OnlyFans subscribers are people you would actually meet up with and hook up in real life?
I don't know. It's possible.
0.
I go through my Instagram DMs for dates. That's not
0.
true.
The answer is 0.
Wait. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to make. Is I think that the expectation needs to be it is none. There is no expectation. Now, it is possible that you were charismatic enough with the waitress that she's like, yeah, and she's into it, and that's fine. But that most people know that that's the rarity. I don't want men going into this being like, God damn, if I convince her enough, there's a chance. I think that that's the area where, again, most men are informed enough to know that that isn't a chance. I'm concerned about the small population that are at higher risk.
No OF creators are leading men on in that sense. Like I lived in an OnlyFans house for 6 months.
I can't. My ears. There's words that are being said, and they're so false that it hurts. It hurts my ears. It like goes directly for, like when you have like a pinched nerve or like a sensitive tooth or something like that, and then like you drink some really cold water and it hits that. That's what's happening to my brain when I hear her say things like no. I don't. the first comment on the chat that you guys can't see is literally says stop the cap. I don't understand. I I don't understand why she would say that. I don't get it. I
I met
Or at higher risk.
no OF creators are leading men on in that sense. Like I lived in an OnlyFans for
What?
6 months. I met like 30 new creators a day. Not a single OF model is ever saying like, there's a chance we'll meet up.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, I love that. Destiny even knows. Look at his face. He knows what she's saying is wild. She what? Oh no. Oh my god. Okay.
That is a lie. That is
That is not
not
true
true.
at all.
She meant most of them don't do that, okay?
Okay.
The whole premise of OnlyFans is leading guys on to
No, it's
thinking
to,
they
give,
have.
it's to give an internet relationship. Most of these guys aren't going to actually meet up with them. Like I said, they're married.
Then
They're
why
not
is there a
going
dude
to
in
it.
India texting them instead of the girl?
How does that relate at all?
Because the guy thinks that he's building a relationship with a girl, but he's not. He's building a relationship with,
yes, an
with
internet
someone who lives
relationship. They're not
20,000.
saying we're going to meet up.
Right, but do you think that
They are saying that.
saying that
That's the problem.
Actually be engaging and sending him dick pics?
Honestly, I do. I've seen
Really?
Dr. Phil specials where they bring on guys and they're
Okay,
like, this
so
is
tell-
the model
you should
who's
tell
been
your
scamming
OnlyFans
you, and they still
subscribers
continue to
that
talk
they're
to the
sending their
scammer
dick pics
because they like
to-
the intimacy
that you should-
just under the
Okay.
image
Yeah,
of
but
the model.
women go
then
back to
on
their
your
abusers.
OnlyFans
That's a terrible
and tell
argument. We're not
guys
gonna
they're
go down
sending
that
their
road.
dick pics to a bunch of
I'm not saying
idiots.
it's good. He's just saying would they do it. And I'm saying I think they
Okay,
still would.
I just want to like back us up a little bit. So you're saying that most or all women are not intentionally trying to blur the line of saying there might be a chance that these guys can fuck me. You say that most women are not doing this?
I'm sure no, I said in terms of meeting up in person, I've never met someone who says like, yeah, I'll be in this area at this time.
Of
Are
course
they giving
you're
them an
never gonna say
internet
that.
sexual and romantic relationship? 100%, but it's
they-
completely online.
Sure, but is there some element? So are there girls who go on Tinder and Bumble to promote their OnlyFans,
Yeah,
a dating site?
yeah.
Okay, what's the purpose behind that if you're not trying to blur the line between
Yeah.
reality,
Wait.
which is that
The
it's
exact
not real?
opposite.
that's
They
not-
do
that's
that to
not-
funnel
that's-
people to their OnlyFans because they go to their Instagram, to their bio link, to their OF.
Yeah, I don't think that the putting your profile on Tinder is just a way to market your shit. I don't think
Nah, dude. No shot. Listen. Okay. I'm probably not gonna make any friends with this. What I'm about to say. I think OnlyFans is fine. This is the part where I've kind of told you both sides of or we've kind of let them go back and forth. Let me back up. I'm gonna give both the most charitable read. You have one side that wants essentially ultimate freedom. They want people to be able to make money however they want. They're engaging with adults, and by nature of the fact that they're engaging with adults, all cards are on the table. You can do, as long as they're consenting adults, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You have the other side of the table that's saying, while that's true, there are some adults that don't have, they're not in the right headspace to make a fair, informed decision. And then I want to hear that again because now
I don't think that the putting your profile on Tinder is just a way to market you.
This kind of brings me to what I was saying before. I think both of these two things can exist. I think it's fair for people to go about and try to make the money the best they can. We've gotten to the point now where someone could say something like that, where it's like, just putting your business on Tinder or promoting your OnlyFans on Tinder is not blurring the lines between a relationship or dating. I don't understand how you could see that and not realize that that's what's happening. That's clearly what's happening. As somebody who used to use dating apps a lot, like there was so much of that. I'm trying to tap into to the brain of someone who would see that and think, "Oh no, that's just marketing, and that's fine." I think this is the thing about, and maybe now the more I'm thinking about this, maybe I'm the outlier. Maybe my perspective on sexual marketing is the problem, or not congruent, or which is why I would really love. I'm gonna see if I can find someone who I can kind of bounce back and forth these ideas with, because I think this is interesting, but I just don't understand how you could see that and think that there's not a problem with that. I don't like. People always use that phrase back in the day. It was like sex sells. Sex shouldn't sell. That's a bad idea. Like it will make the business money. It'll make the person who's selling money, but it seems to be just a bad idea for society. But I'm saying that, but I also want people can have sex with whoever they want. I'm not some like religious person who's like, oh, well, you only have sex with your like have sex as many times as you want, have sex with whoever you want. I do believe in sexual freedom for both parties, but like you have to do that responsibly. You can't treat it like it's just whatever. Like it's not just whatever. There are I don't want to say consequences because that gives a negative connotation, but there's cause and effect. And it feels like right now we're pretending that the effect isn't coming from the cause. And as long as we keep doing that, we're going to keep running into the same effect. At some point, we kind of have to acknowledge, like, hey, this is not like some other things. This is a very, like, primate, like, kind of thing that humans have to deal with. And I think we opened Pandora's box, which I'm for opening Pandora's box. We just should have read the label on the box before we opened it. But this shit's crazy.
I don't think the goal is to, like, when you go on Tinder, because you see them on OnlyFans, now you think you have a higher chance of meeting them. I don't even know if those profiles are really even there. I'm pretty sure they just geolocated across wherever, and then they just throw their OnlyFans like other thing to market their shit.
Do you think that behavior is aimed to just be like empty promotion of like, I'm obviously just an OnlyFans model selling a fake fantasy? Or are they trying to say, I'm a local in your area, we can maybe meet up on this Tinder thing. Also, have you checked out my OnlyFans? Which is like more
I had agents who pitched it to me and I turned it down because I thought it was too scammy. But like the whole point is to try to funnel people.
But that's
her
whole point.
Your Instagram.
You just made her whole point. You literally just said.
Click that link so you get more page links. It's not to like lead people.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, like before like Tinder, like girls would do this just to grow their Instagram, like even without trying to funnel to an OnlyFans.
And that's bad. That's not good. That's the thing that I feel like is missing. It's like you shouldn't. I don't know if I want to say you shouldn't be allowed to do that. Like, I guess you should be allowed to do it, but it's just. It feels like the cost of that is just bad. Human beings don't interact or interface with that, and like we just don't. We don't deal with things that way. We don't see it that way. I don't know. Like
they're for a while, for several years now, girls will just like link their Instagrams on Tinder with the hope that you click it and follow them and they grow their following or whatever.
I think it would be a lot more. Oh, go ahead.
I'm not saying that behavior by itself is the problem. I'm saying there is this systemic issue within OnlyFans.
I misheard what he said. I thought they were linking their OnlyFans on Instagram or whatever. I would say that's also bad, but that's what I was saying was bad. If they're just linking their Instagram to their Tinder profile, who gives a shit? That's fine. That's innocuous. That's fine. Who cares? It's the fact that OnlyFans is clearly it's like it is a sexual platform, and you're adding that to you're using it as a way to manipulate and funnel people towards your business, and that's kind of fucked. Like we kind of do that. We say the same thing to like multi-level marketing companies. They market themselves towards poorer people, giving them the thought like, hey, you could be a multi-millionaire if you just get your friend that gets 2 more friends, and then they get 2 more friends. It's BS. That's not like, if you haven't done the math on that, like it's impossible. Like, you're never gonna be that like a multimillionaire. The way that tree branches in order to make you money, it would immediately encompass the entire population of the world. That's what a pyramid scheme is. That's why it doesn't work. But they go to these people who are poor, uneducated, and they exploit them. It's the same shit. It's just like, I don't know.
OnlyFans creators. I've looked through. Some girls who offer GFE have explicit disclaimers on their page. They're pretty much copy and pasting. That's pretty good. This is a fantasy. It's not real. I have a partner. It is only fantasy. If you expect it to be more, it will never be. But there are also lots of women who are absolutely leaning into teasing the fact of whether or not this could potentially become a relationship. And that is explicitly what I'm saying is exploitative and should stop on OnlyFans.
I think that if you want to make the argument that there is going to be some section of people in the industry that are exploitative, I think everybody here would have to agree to that by default. Much the same that this is true of every single industry that sells any amount of entertainment. There's going to be some level of people that are exploitative.
Sure.
But OnlyFans seems to get a special thing of it, like, we want to broaden this. I don't know how much daylight there is between you and Alex's position, because it seems like Alex is saying that this is the norm, and you're saying that this is like a small percentage of it. What is your guys' opinion on, like, what are the percentage of OnlyFans creators that you think, it doesn't have to be exact, but I'm just curious, approximately, you think are engaging in behavior that you would comfortably define as exploitative?
I mean, it depends how far you go down exploitative. Like, is it exploitative for the girl to lead the guy on? Does she have to explicitly promise to meet him?
Wait, what does lead the guy on mean?
Like, given the idea that they're going to meet up.
What does giving the idea mean? If you chat with a girl, is that leading?
Yeah, if the girl's flirting with him, which again is some dude in India saying, "Oh yeah, I love your big dick. Haha, if I'm ever in your area, we'll meet up." Right?
Wait, hold on.
You're leading the guy on.
Okay, wait, I want to drill down this for a real quick.
Go ahead, drill down.
Yeah, okay. When you say lead on, you said 3 different statements in there. You're funny, you got a big dick, let's meet up eventually. 2 of these are online flirtations. The third one I would say is maybe leading on, right? But you're mixing all of these together. So,
Okay, what if it's more subtle? What if he says, yeah, you know, maybe someday I'll visit your city, haha. More subtle.
if the guy is himself suggesting it.
No, the girl suggested. Haha.
If
cool.
the girl, yeah,
I
then we
love
could say,
Dallas.
we could say if the
I'll
girl
visit
is
one day.
suggesting it, then that's probably some form of like leading on.
That's the problem.
Okay.
But what is the percentage of like all the OnlyFans girls that
Oh
are
my
engaged in
God.
that behavior? Because
It depends on which behavior we're identifying, right? So
well, for Alex, I want to know what percentage both of you think is exploitation, because it sounds like what you're talking about is like 2%. So it sounds weird to say OnlyFans exploitative, but it sounds like Alex thinks it's like 70%.
So I think some of the more extreme behaviors would be really small, right? Girls being like, "Let's meet up. Can you pay for my like visa?" Obviously, I think that's a very small. It's going to be mostly girls coached by Andrew Tate, right?
Okay. So when you say like we'll say less than 5%.
Right. That's the most extreme group. The issue is I think that there are a number of accruing behaviors towards that, and TOS should probably be before, hey, can you send me $5,000 so I can move in with you, right? I think the TOS should be extended a little bit higher than that. So my issue would be, for example, when I was looking at the girlfriend experience advice board on the OnlyFans thing, one of the questions was, how often when you offer the girlfriend experience do men fall in love with you? And they said, almost always. And the answers of a lot of these girls was, these men know what they're consenting to. It's not my fucking problem if they're too stupid to realize that it's a fantasy. And that to me feels a little yucky. It feels like we can have a harder line with these women, with like, not just these women, because it's also men on OnlyFans. Because to be honest, I would bet male OnlyFans offer probably even more of this boyfriend experience than women do.
I would agree.
It has to be a harder line of saying you cannot imply and lie as much as possible towards the edge, not as far as inviting them over to your house, to make them think that this fantasy might, in your case, become a reality.
I think
you can't be led to believe that you're the special one.
It would be a lot more admirable if you just own it and you were like, yeah, you know what? Like, yeah, sure, we're taking money from these Sims, but you know, it's a free country. It should be legal. It is legal. So, you know, it is what it is. I'm a businesswoman. That's how I make my money. Instead of trying to like basically say, oh, it's actually a good thing for the man. Like, do you think if a casino owner was talking on this debate panel, he was like, yeah, you know, my casino is actually helping men. Would that be a fair thing for him to say?
If he cited a study, sure, but I cited a study that proves that, like I said, it improves
Just in the hypothetical. Like, let's pretend there's no study.
But in response to what you were saying about...
She just ignores the question.
Because you completely like detoured from what she was saying. So you were saying that the parasocial element is what makes it exploitative, but I'm saying like, I would say you're a streamer, right? There's probably men in your audience who are in love with you. Like, do you start off every stream being like, I'm never gonna be friends with you people. You might think of him in your area and we do like a meet and greet or something, or you meet me at TwitchCon that we'll become friends, but we won't. I just want you to all know I'm not your actual friend,
Right,
and I'm making
so
money off you.
Part of what I'm talking about is the population that you're trying to appeal to. I'm not trying to appeal to the loneliest men and go, hey guys, like, ignore my
You're
husband.
not trying
fuck
to, but I
that
would say there's a
guy.
lot of lonely people who can like fester in,
Nick is in the basement.
Sure.
Twitch chats all day.
I would actually qualify it even harder. I think the percentage of lonely people, not to attack my own audience, is actually probably far higher in the streamer world than it is in the OnlyFans world, just because of the massive amount of time sink you have in the streamer world. There's probably people, if I had to estimate, again, cut the mic for the DGGers, okay? But like, the average OnlyFans subscriber probably has a more successful social life than the average like online YouTuber stream content consumer that's watching for 5+ hours a day. I feel pretty comfortable.
Sure, I would probably agree with that. Then again, I mean, I'm happy to go into the ethics of parasocial dynamics as well. The issue is that I think streamers overstep this line all the time. The question is, am I manipulating their loneliness specifically to rake as much money as possible from them and lying to them bold-faced around
You don't think
all
that's
of
the
it?
nature of a Twitch streamer?
I don't think that's the nature of most
not every
Twitch
Twitch streamer.
streamers.
There's some, yeah.
Yeah, some I would say are unethical.
You don't think the business model of any streamer is to make money off someone with way too much free time and a lack of a healthy social life?
No.
I would say that
It's not
I would
to
say
cause negative outcomes for them, right? If
Is
someone,
mine with the intention of causing negative outcomes? Is that what I go in with the mindset of?
you probably
gonna
don't
fuck up
because
this guy's life.
you don't consciously think about it, but that's exactly what's happening.
Wait, what are the negative outcomes? What are the negative
I
outcomes?
just want to go back to this question because it wasn't answered. Do you think if I'm a casino owner, I own Caesars or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, guys, my casino, it's actually helping people. It's helping guys. It's helping my customers. Would you say that that's a fair statement for me to say?
If it's not based in any reality or studies, then no.
Okay, it's
I
not.
just don't think it's a compelling analogy.
Why is it not? Because I'm taking their money, and they're not getting anything in return besides short-term dopamine spikes.
Hold on, wait.
Same
No,
thing
even
with
on your
OnlyFans.
example could be defeated with certain data. Let's say hypothetically, let's say there's an area of dispossessed people with low economic opportunity, or there's I don't know, it's a shitty area, commit a lot of crime, whatever bullshit. Let's say that you set up a casino there, and let's say you employ a lot of people. There are people, and they go in and gamble. Maybe some of them get addicted, maybe it's bad, but overwhelmingly, like the amount of crime falls. People go there and they have fun there. They watch shows, they go out to eat, they do whatever. You could make that argument that my casino in this area has actually been like a net gain for like the people of this city. If that was the case, would it be?
But
fair
I'm not
for him?
talking about for the people of the city. I'm talking about the customers.
The customers
understand
are the
the
people in the city. So I'm asking, well, let's say
casinos
hypothetically, I'm calling you hypothetically. Let's say that was the case that happened. Would then it be fair for him to make that statement that my casino has actually improved the lives of the people coming to the casino?
It has improved the lives of the local area, not the customers.
The customers that come to the casinos.
the
Before
customers
this, my customers were
they
out of the
always
street. They
lose
were
money.
fighting with people. They were doing whatever. You lose money doing.
Dude, do you
hold on.
really think- do you think-
Spoiler alert.
wait, hang on.
Spoiler
Do you
alert.
think- do you
Spoiler
think-
alert. Every piece of entertainment in society, you lose money. You lose money playing
Do you
video
think-
games. You lose money going out to
do you
eat. You
think-
lose money
do-
buying drugs.
dude,
Everything is
do
losing
you
money.
think-
Yes.
Do you think gang members who are shooting each other in the street are gonna be like, oh, well, now there's a casino, so I don't have to perform
creating a
robberies. I can just
hypothetical.
go in and gamble. Like that analogy doesn't hold any water.
Hold on. Not only does it not hold water, it might actually perfectly hold water. I don't know 1,000,000%, but it wouldn't surprise me if, for instance, in Romania, where our good mutual friend Andrew Tate resides, that gang dealers doing investments into things like casinos might be better than them doing investments into things like drug trades. Maybe it's possible, right? I'm not saying that this is 100% what could happen. Or Native Americans feel like when they run casinos, it benefits them. People go and visit. They feel like they have fun, so it benefits them. Like, why get in between the transaction that everybody is consenting to?
No one is saying in between. Like, this is a complete red herring.
I say get in between it because it would seem as though there's a negative impact that an accumulation of those transactions have on society. That would be my reason for someone to step in and say, hey, we need to do something about this transaction. Yes, it's two consenting adults. It's kind of like pollution. It's like if two consenting companies or adults, whatever, decided, hey, we want to do this thing, but every time they did it, it like fucked up the ozone layer or something. We wouldn't just be like, well, they're two consenting adults and they're doing a thing and like they consented, yeah. Like, no, we would look at that and say, like, yes, they're two consenting adults, but like, yes, they're technically not causing a lot of harm, but that instance multiplied over millions of people does cause a problem. Like, you have to look at this from a macro lens and see that to like see the other side of this argument. Like, it's clearly there's clearly a societal problem.
That we want to make it illegal.
I'm not blaming anyone for this, by the way. I'm not saying like, oh, it's the women's fault or OnlyFans. I don't think there's a point in putting blame on someone for this. I just think that this seems to be the case. It seems to be like this is not helping that problem. And if we just keep continuing doing it, it's probably not good.
Or block
Okay, why say that it's unethical or immoral? Who are you to
That's
say
a different question.
Who are you to say that the customer that goes and spends $100 on blackjack or craps for the night isn't feeling like he got a good spend for his money? You got a good return for his money.
I'm sure you can make that argument about anything. Oh yeah, I spent.
Then make it about OnlyFans. Why can't you say for OnlyFans?
Okay, the same thing with the car dealership. Say the car dealer knows you don't know shit about car, or the mechanic. Go to the mechanic, he knows you don't know shit about car. He upcharges you like crazy. You think you got a good deal, but was that not exploitative since he totally ripped you off?
Wait, how are the OnlyFans girl? I know how to beat my dick. What are they telling me that I don't already know? How is the OnlyFans girl exploiting me?
Okay.
Dude, you're not an OnlyFans like person that would fall into that.
To be clear, I have 2 active OnlyFans subscriptions right now, so I am one of these
You
dispossessed
have
men.
a wife,
So
you bang a bunch of
do you DM them
chicks,
often,
right?
though?
You're not the guy that's
fuck no, I'm not retarded. I know they're not going to date me.
Okay, that's exactly
Right, but those
the
people
point.
are retarded.
But they might. I'm actually. I am one of these dispossessed
You have
men.
a wife,
So
you bang a
do you
bunch of
DM them
chicks,
often,
right?
though?
You're not the guy that's
fuck no, I'm not retarded. I know.
I can't hear what she's saying because this dude's.
So
You bang a
do you
bunch of
DM them
chicks,
often,
right?
though?
You're not the guy that's.
fuck no, I'm not retarded. I know they're not going to date me.
Okay, that's
but
exactly
those
the
people
point.
But they might. I'm actually.
Why are they
maybe I should
offering you
DM them. Fuck me.
services?
Maybe I should be DMing girls on OnlyFans.
You know what? They probably might.
Okay.
Hey,
Wait, no,
can
but
I-
no, wait, but
okay,
I'm
yeah,
serious.
yeah, yeah.
Just for this question,
Yeah.
you guys can answer. I'm just trying to figure out like if like what is the harm of a guy subscribing to OnlyFans to jerk off to exclusive sexual material? What is the harm there? Because Alex, it feels like you. Because again, I feel like there's a difference between your position. Alex, what is your position on the harm being caused to people that buy sex from OnlyFans people?
Yeah, I can quantify.
There's nothing wrong with people that buy content to jerk off to. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is the people that then take it to that next step. And then the people that want to skirt that line of people taking it to the next step to get more money. That's where the problem is. Just like there's nothing wrong with OnlyFans on its surface.
Find the harm. So there's many. First of all, porn addiction is a real thing. This has been studied thoroughly. So you are engaging in porn addiction is desensitizing your dopamine receptors. It's going to make you more likely to have erectile dysfunction. That's also been found. And the biggest thing is you're wasting money and time on girls that you will never be able to meet and have a relationship with. And at the end of the day, most guys want a relationship. Most guys want to be with a girl that loves them, and that can never, ever happen on OnlyFans. Farah will not meet up with a single guy from her OnlyFans because she knows that they're all a bunch of loser simps, right? She subconsciously knows that.
Or they're married men who want to keep their infidelity, confined to a screen. So why would they be incentivized to
they're
meet up with
cheating
me?
in a more moderate way. They're like, oh, it's better than them going out
I'm
fucking
saying
a
you're
girl.
acting like they're
just
all
gonna
dying to
cheat
see
on-
me, but I'm saying a lot of them don't actually want to see the models because they're, waiting for their wife to maybe leave the house and they go on OnlyFans.com since they're married.
Do you think if you made a community post saying, hey,
I think I've heard enough. I think we've it's run its course. I'm taking a second to really gather my thoughts on this whole thing. What I'll say is, could some of this be solved by legalizing and regulating sex work? Yes, that would be awesome. But I think I would, yes, 100%. I think a lot of this would be solved if we just legalized it and had regulations. My concern is that the way that people are so obsessed with having ultimate freedom of decision that they'll be against any regulation. Any regulation that's like, well, let me back up. There's probably some regulation. Safety regulation, I think people would be for. Keeping people safe, they'd be for. Or keeping the sex workers safe, I think they're for. But there's not a lot of empathy for the consumer. And so I don't know if there'd be any regulation to protect them. That's what I think is the scary part of that. But I agree. I think I think that's honestly the answer. I think the answer is legalize it, and then let's talk and come up with realistic regulations for it. Because people want to do it. People are gonna do it, regardless of whether it's legalized or not. We would need to come up with a way that people can do it, causing the least amount of harm. I think that's the goal. Not just to the sex worker, but to the consumer as well. Like, it's the reason why we made a legal age for cigarette smoke, or legal age for drinking. We've just found something in sex work that just putting a legal age is not enough. There's more that needs to be done with that. And to be fair, we did that with alcohol and cigarettes. There's some countries where it's like, oh, well, we limited the age of cigarettes. Well, that didn't fucking change anything. People are still smoking cigarettes. They're like, okay, well, we started making them way more expensive, and that kind of helped. And then we started putting those like really gruesome like graphic images of like messed up lungs and messed up hearts and messed up brains and like dead people and whatnot on cartons. And from what I understand, that helped. That actually helped a lot. When you're not making like this super cool cowboy Marlboro man like as the mascot for cigarettes, and you put like, hey dude, you drink or you smoke this a lot. This is good. This is what your inside your body's gonna look. You're gonna look like this guy. That turns out that helped. So like we have examples where we were like, hey, we put an age restriction on stuff, and that wasn't enough, and we did more measures, and then it kind of helped people make a much more informed decision on whether or not they want to smoke or not, or want to engage in something or not. And I think sex work has kind of hit that point, and the internet has like made us hit this point, I think, way faster than we would have otherwise. Because if you think about it, like, how long have cigarettes been around? How long has alcohol been around? It took forever for us to get to a point where we were like doing all these things to like really inform people of what the risks are. Whereas like, and technically sex work has been around longer than that. They call it the oldest profession, right? I keep feeling like I'm hearing something. But yeah, they call it the oldest profession, but I think this internet age or internet version of sex work is, and I still wish we had a better word for it. I don't know what the word would be, but I hate it. I hate folding a bunch of different things into one term. But I think it's just exasperated things. It's like, I think it would be nice for there to be like it to be legalized and regulated. But I think that society has a role to play in advocating for the people to have the autonomy to do whatever they want. Like, go have sex with 1 million people if you want to. Just make sure you're informed about what that can cause. Not just on the physical level, but on a mental level. With like, hey, you can go do this, but unless you're 100% sure, or unless you're like really, really sure that this isn't going to affect you negatively down the line, you might want to rethink this. Same thing for guys. It's like, hey, you can jerk off to porn all day if you want to, but you need to understand like what that's going to do to your brain, like what that's going to do to your, like how that's going to affect you in the long run. And I don't think there's like anything or anybody saying that right now. It's just kind of like, hey man, do whatever you want, ultimate freedoms, and that's cool and all, but those ultimate freedoms have ultimate consequences. But I don't know if I want to keep watching this because it's pretty long, and I think we've gotten to the gist of it. I might it might be. I'm gonna go to the Q&A. How long is the Q&A? 1:30. Q&A is like 10 minutes. You know what? I'm gonna do some digging. I want to see if I can find a co-host. I want to have this conversation, but because it's sometimes when I'm thinking about really heavy stuff like this that has really like big connotations and big consequences and whatnot to it. Sometimes I'll talk to someone about it later, and then they give me a perspective I completely missed, and I didn't think about it at all. And now that I'm worried that that's kind of, I may have done that here. So I'm gonna see if there's someone who would be willing to watch this or talk about this subject with me. So I might blast that on my social media if somebody wants to hop on the Discord and talk about this for a bit. I think it is a conversation worth having. Yeah, I don't know. It's just something that I ran across earlier today, and I was like, you know what? I kind of do want to talk about this. But anywho, that's super weird. I probably gonna call it a night here. This music is so cringe. I can't stand it. Gotta find a better list. There's a game that I've been looking at that I've been wanting to play. This game here. Justant. Literally looks like it's kind of like a climbing exploration kind of puzzle-esque game. And a lot of times the art style's gorgeous. Absolutely, I love it. It's great. A lot of times I find games like this and I'm like, well, there's no combat. That'd be absolutely boring. Why would I want to play that? And then I start looking at it and I'm like, oh, this looks like it'd be great. It's only 4 hours. However, this week I'm traveling over the weekend, and this week is going to be kind of hectic for me. Work is getting nuts. I'm trying to do more video gigs. So, but I really, really, really do want to stream more. I genuinely want to stream a lot more than I have been. So, I'm trying to figure out a schedule that'll work. I think I'll get it straightened out. It may only be like 2 times a week. Maybe it's only 1 time a week, but it's really long. Like I might just give Saturday. Saturday's just stream day, and we go for like really long. Obviously there'd be breaks in between, but like I don't know. I'd have to figure out something that would work and that's sustainable. The sustainability is really the tough part, because sometimes I'll be right in the mood. Like today, I was like, I remember being at work and I was just like, I want to stream tonight. I don't know what I'm going to stream, but I do want to stream tonight. I was going to stream this game, that Justant game, but this this topic kind of got me, got my brain juices flowing. Oh, obviously I'm yawning. I'm tired. I need to go to bed. I got work in the morning. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching all that fun stuff. Today is Monday. Maybe I don't think I'll have time tomorrow. Maybe Wednesday or Thursday. We'll see. Well, no, definitely not gonna have time Wednesday. Maybe. It depends on how late we're out. It's my brother's birthday on Wednesday, so we're gonna. All right, have a good night. Thank you for Spirit Gun. Appreciate you swinging by. Take care. Good night. I'll see you guys either tomorrow or Wednesday. Peace.